All right, we're back another Sunday at 6 o'clock on our Black Media Network with the political spectrum with two of the smartest men in Georgia. How y'all doing, gentlemen?
Sore.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I did the same thing last month.
Oh, I haven't gotten it done yet. I've been playing hell with insurance.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank God for ibuprofen.
Well, hydrocodone is even better.
They wouldn't give me that. They wouldn't give me that. So,
Uh oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, man. So y'all, let's hop right into it. We don't have a script today, so let's just go with the flow. Uh Dante, you start first. I mean, what do you what was well, better yet, I do want to start first.
all right.
With the
All
beach
right.
blonde, bad built.
We could have saved that one
What
for
she
the
said,
main
beach
event, but
blonde.
let's start on that.
Let's go ahead and start with it. So I think Marjorie Green Taylor deserved everything she got with her butch body. What do y'all think?
I'm laughing at both of them, actually. I mean, the back and forth between her and ASC was just magnifique. I've never seen such
You,
entertaining circus in my entire life, coming from people that are supposed to be defined, dignified, and adult.
I really don't even know what to say. The fact that we elected, all three of them really have to really take responsibility for what was said during that session. But the fact that people elected entertainers to go to DC to actually do or focus on issues for the American people, I mean, it's just kind of sad that they all acted that way.
Yeah.
But I guess it was a slugfest, and it was more so of who can say the best thing to get some tweets, to get on interviews, and really both sides. If you look at the conservative side, they feel like Marjorie Taylor Greene gave it to AOC and Representative Crockett. If you look at the liberal side, they feel like they finally got Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I mean, it really didn't do anything. But again, it's sad that we elected representatives
Yeah, your mic's going out a little bit.
Yeah. Y'all
to
Um,
must have
go
some.
to DC to be part of a Jerry Springer show is on some work.
well, people
What?
are more concerned about putting on a show and re-election than they are actually doing the job once they're elected.
Mhm.
Um, they're thinking if I can just get people's attention, I'll get more votes when the next election comes. And what they're failing to understand is you're supposed to be doing your job once you're elected. The election cycle has to end at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, even with Donald Trump to a certain extent, reality TV has become a norm, and it seems that it has become more of a value uh, in opposition to dignity and decorum. And so, Dante, I don't know if you noticed, but the last city council election, dignity and decorum was at the center of a lot of the conversation, which there is a place for that. I won't chastise that idea. I will say there's a place for that. I do think sometimes we use dignity and decorum as an excuse not to advocate, but I do believe that sometimes what we saw in Congress was petty,
Yeah.
and petty should not take the precedence over respect. You know, we one of the things I love about what we're doing, we all have different views on policy, but we can demonstrate good conversation without the pettiness.
Well, we have something that seems Congress lacks now restraint. They don't seem to have the capacity to keep their emotions in check, number one, and they're more concerned about how they're perceived rather than the policy that they create to make things better for all Americans.
And that's important. And I would love to hear more conversation around that from both of you all. As some a lot of us, none of us agree on 100% of anything.
No,
And I think a lot of times we must remind ourselves, where is it that we do agree, right? I never forget, I was supervising someone, and I had come into a department, become her supervisor after 7 years of her leading a department. never had done that work before. And I had to sit down with her, and I said, let's begin where we both have an agreement, where we both understand where we do get along. And so where we all get along is the American people, the public, the people of our communities. And that's where we begin. And I think Congress has lost sight of where do we get along? What is that one common thing that we can agree on?
I think we all need to go back to Maslow's hierarchy. And I think the American priorities is food, shelter, and the freedom to pursue one's happiness. We all want someone to have food. We all want people to have shelter. And we all want people to have freedom to add quality to their life through creature comforts and liberty. And I think every American, no matter what party we're in, desires to have that for their neighbor, for themselves, and for all those that they love.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, the people in Marjorie Taylor Greene elected her, so that's what they wanted her to go to DC to do. People in Crockett's district represented her, so that's what they kind of wanted her to do, to go give it to the Republicans. Same thing with AOC. So yeah, it's unfortunate the results that we got, but people are involved in this mix, and that's what they sent to DC to do. When it comes to committee assignments, I'm not sure why anyone would have put Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC on the same committee. I mean, that was bound to happen at some point. I'm not familiar with this with Representative Crockett, so I can't say too much about her, but she does seem like she's about that life. If you know what that means, then you know what that means. But it just seemed that they were ready just to rumble with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And the one thing I do want to pick up what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, because I don't think she was right. She did start this by talking about someone's island interest, but she did question how many people on that committee was giving the judge's daughter in Trump's New York case working. How many people are allowing that judge's daughter to work on that campaign?
Do we want to really go here?
It was not, it was not the right time to have that conversation.
Right.
But I do want to say that Marjorie Taylor Greene did throw that out there. And then once that got thrown out there, everything else got overshadowed by this conversation. I'm not taking up for her.
No,
I'm not taking up for her. But I'm just saying that she did try to bring out something. And next thing you know, guilty conscious people got a little bit offended by it. And next thing you know, ready to rumble.
How many United States presidents have participated in nepotism?
Too many. Way too many.
Donald Trump. Who hired the whole family to run the White House? They have zero policy experience.
Jackson, you're forgetting the Clintons. You're forgetting the Nixons. And this nepotism has been going on for a long
time.
I mean, I'm not trying to knock down.
I know, I'm messing with you.
You're correct. But what you all understand is this open nepotism has proceeded decade after decade, and I do agree with you, it needs to end. I mean, even back in Kennedy, not that Robert Kennedy wasn't qualified, but that was a pure sign of nepotism.
I agree.
Yeah. And even if Miss Greene had a legitimate point, it was the wrong time, the wrong place. And last but not least, she invalidated her point the moment she started with personal insults.
Yes.
She did. She did. Yeah.
She would have gotten away with it if she hadn't thrown in the personal insults. Maybe. But the moment she started getting petty and acting like she was in middle school, that just threw everything out that she brought forth.
Yeah. Which is hard. And which is hard because, Dante, you probably see a lot of it in Atlanta, but I can say, Clinton and I were both involved with a previous election here in this municipality. And some of the stuff that he had to endure, it was just downright disrespectful, rude, and just nasty. Well, I just think, and part of it is I just want to offer this, even some things I have said. We've got to, I think Clinton made a good point. We are here to talk about what we can do to empower and better our communities. And sometimes passion gets in the way, but it's good to sometimes check ourselves and say, am I really saying the right thing? Or am I just being, saying things to be petty?
Well, Mr. White brought something to my attention, who's watching us right now. He was pointing out to me that sometimes you need to fight back. And he's correct. I'm not saying not to fight back. I'm not saying to have absolutely no passion. I'm saying it's how you go about it. And you need to make up your mind. Do you want to get people's attention or do you want to actually bring home a point? Now, Miss Green did get people's attention. I'm sure on the internet there are plenty of clicks, but people have lost sight of the point she was trying to develop, all because she invalidated it with the insult. So I'm in agreement with you, Mr. White. I'm not saying not to fight back. I'm just arguing on how you should do it. That's it.
I agree. There's a way how you should do it, and I mean, how old are we to sit there and just call each other some names? I mean, seriously, at some point in your adulthood life, that's supposed to stop. I would say at least 25.
Well, I don't know. I like to identify the 6-year-old, and it makes me.
Are you trans age? You're transational.
I'm trans age. I will be 6 for a long time. Yeah. I mean, quit smile. I'm hurting my tooth.
I love it. Oh my God.
Well, I live in the city of Atlanta, and you can be whatever you want. So you can say what take that for what it is.
You can be a flower. All right. Dante, what you got on your list?
So we had the 46th president come here today in Atlanta, Georgia, to talk to some Morehouse graduates.
If
I had to rank the speech, and I'm not trying to be biased, right? If I had to rank this speech, to be honest with you, I would give it a 5. I mean, he really did not speak to Black men. I mean, that was his audience right there in front of him. I understand he had to do it on a national level, and he had to hit a lot of things in such a short time. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I watched the speech, and Biden even said to these Black men, you know, you should look at my record. Well, if we look at your record, people wouldn't want to vote for you. I mean, you did support a segregationist bill. You have put a lot of Black men in jail. If you're only touting because I was the vice president of the first Black person, I hired a VP who's Black and she's an AKA. I put the first Black Supreme Court woman on there. My White House press secretary is also Black. I mean, if that's your reason for Black people to go vote for you, that ain't gonna work. What specifically can you talk to Black people, Black men, since he was there? What can you do for them? And actually, I put a challenge to both Democrats and Republicans, because now is a time that both parties have to really get out there and go get the Black vote. This is not, Black people are not about to just run to the Democratic Party as before. Now they're eyeing even Robert Kennedy. They're eyeing Donald Trump. Some even say they might sit out. So they have to work for it. And Biden, honestly, Black people are not happy with him. They feel like they just been in a long marriage, but they just don't want to divorce him because the media has portrayed Donald Trump a certain way, and people are just turned off by his strong style leadership. But Biden did nothing. He really didn't. I mean, he even forgot the name of the college that he was going to speak to a few days before he got there.
Let me defend Mr. President Biden.
Go ahead, and I got a point too.
Let me defend him. For one, you need to be glad that he was able to find his place.
That's not y'all not gonna come for just.
Number 2, you probably never even remember after the bigoted segregated bill. You're lucky to remember the thing. That they got through 5 minutes of a speech, you should be happy. And you should thank Big Pharma for him making it through the entire speech.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. You good. So y'all, let me say this.
I mean,
now,
come on, Bobby, you have to, Bobby, you have to be real. When Biden starts talking or even have a speech, you have to be like very hopeful that he's going to make it.
Let me offer this.
All right.
Of all the politicians I've ever seen, Biden has had the courage to talk about infrastructure. I don't understand why we elect people who don't speak on infrastructure. Infrastructure to me is just, and I'll give you a great example. In the area that I'm in now, in the city of Savannah, Chatham County, we have a major car manufacturer being built and a expanded port, and yet we still don't have the infrastructure to deal with that. We are always 10 years behind with infrastructure. And you have a president, even though he's 150 years old, who understands the seriousness of infrastructure. And let me tell you why. With all of that going on, we're going to have more 18 wheelers and semis on the road that's competing with the spaces for vehicles. That's a serious problem. In Chatham County alone, and I've been saying this for 5 years now, we are ready for a multi county rail system like MARTA has built in Atlanta. But yet, we are 20 years far from that. So I will give him credit on the fact that he has talked about infrastructure and put some resources in those spaces.
Okay, allow me to bring up some history. I can't believe I'm going to defend an advocating Democrat, but here we go. Clinton did a lot for the transportation infrastructure during the 90s. He passed a bill which repaired a lot of interstates and a lot of highways that we travel on the day. And he actually did focus on infrastructure. Biden's not the only one.
I agree. Yeah.
I think a lot of people forgot what Clinton did. I think they're so caught up in the scandal of the time of what Clinton, did that they forgot the good things that he accomplished. And I was impressed with his transportation bill during the 90s. I know a lot of you probably have forgotten that, but I haven't.
Well, I was in elementary school in the 90s, so we'll just take that for what it is. But let's say this about while we are talking about the infrastructure bill, and I thought it was decent. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was decent. But again, we're kind of missing the point. Specifically, what can he talk about that he has done for Black people?
Nothing.
For Black men, specifically.
Well, I understand that, and I think
he cannot. I mean, Biden, unfortunately, not unfortunately from my perspective, but he does not have a record that he can run on. And if you have to get the 44th president out there just to get the Black man vote, that's not actually going to work. And another thing I took kind of offense that he said when he spoke about lead pipes. I find it very ironic that he even brought up lead pipes when his president at that time, when he was vice president, when he was vice president at that time, President Obama went to Flint, Michigan and pretended to drink water just to get the community to drink water. And by the way, Flint still has dirty pipes.
It does. It does. And let me speak to that. On another show, The Rabble, Charlie Brown, who is a well-rooted political activist in the area I'm in, said a phenomenal thing to me, and I didn't think about it. But I agree and I don't agree. And he said, when has the Black community put forth an agenda? And then I have to question myself, well, when has the Asian American community put out an agenda? When has the LGBTQ community put out an agenda? But yet they get things to protect them. So my point to that is, yes, I agree with that, but at the same time, for a community of people who have been brought over here for free labor, there should not have to be an ask for an agenda. There should be some kind of advocacy. In fact, there still has not been a bill to support the Voter Rights Act. And honestly, Dante, I will agree with you on that. I do think if Biden really wants this thing to happen, let me back up. Bishop Jamal Bryant said this Friday in Fortson's funeral.
Okay.
You've got to start protecting this community if you want our vote. For a Black male who is in the Air Force to get shot in his own home is deplorable. And for the president of the United States not to recognize that as an issue, even now, even after Tim Emmett Till, concerns me.
Well, we also need to remember we can't put all our trust and hopes and dreams into the executive branch. We need to throw a lot of responsibility onto our governors because they've ignored or neglected these things. Mm-hmm. And they always lead people to the idea that it's a president's job to fix these things. In some capacity, but the governors need to step up. They keep turning away and ignoring these issues. People being shot in their own home.
Yeah.
Especially in your own state and you're the governor. It's your opportunity to fix it way before it even reaches the attention of any president. Period.
When it comes to the voting rights bill that the Democrats keep putting up in the House, I think I would take it more seriously if they remove the fact to give DC a statehood. And the only reason why they added that caveat in there so they can get more congressional power. So it has nothing to do with actually making sure Black people have a right to vote. Because guess what? In today's America, Black people have every right to vote. Now, yes, you do probably need to go do your research on your state, of how your state take care of you for voting. I know in Georgia, even homeless people can vote. The only thing they have to do is use their county residency. And really in Georgia, when you go get a new ID, it simply asks you, if you want to register to vote. So there are easy ways to sit here to go vote in this day and time. I wish we stopped trying to, create this dogma that, oh, Black people, you are being disenfranchised. You're not really.
They want, with that myth, and they want to give people the perception that any minority doesn't have the capacity to have an ID card or a driver's license, which is an absolute lie. It's also patronizing. But
it's very patronizing. I mean, Black people have an ID for a whole host of things.
Handicapped people do too, but they talk down to handicapped people and disabled people all the time. They want you the perception that people need to have their hand held and done everything for them. People are not that helpless. A lot of people have the ability to get an ID card or a driver's license, and for the elderly, they're incapable of going to retrieve these things. If you contact the Board of Elections, they will send someone to your residence to make an ID card for you if you're a senior citizen or if you become disabled or if you're handicapped.
And then another thing that Biden said today that I took issue with, he brought up volunteers bringing water to people standing in line. Out of my 36 years being on this earth, and I started voting when I was 18, no one has ever brought me any water to stand in line. I'm sorry, the lines are normally long. Well, and guess what? If you vote on election, newsflash audience, if you vote on election day, you are voting at the last minute and the lines might be long, which is why a lot of people take the time to vote by mail or vote early. But if you are waiting to the last minute to go vote, you are subject to stand in a long line. And also that some people just don't want to mention the reason why Republican Georgians had an issue with water bottles and certain things being brought to people, because also campaign literature was being given out at the same time, which they're supposed to do at a certain distance. And also Georgia did not stop people from bringing water and other things that people are requesting. You have to do it at a certain distance. And if these people really need water so bad, guess what? They can still get water. The only thing those volunteers have to do is give it to the precinct where people are going to vote. And guess who can pass it out? The people at the precinct.
Well, I'm coming from after this, we're going to do a commercial break. But let me offer this. I will agree with you on that because I'm back and forth with it. I think a lot of times all parties basically have a reason to whine. But here's the thing. The problem is people who are registered don't get out to vote. In Chatham County of Georgia, we have a lot, like over, let's just say 800,000 people. I know that's wrong, but we have a lot of people registered to vote.
Yeah.
Only 10 to 15% votes.
You're
so
correct.
Kill me with them excuses. I'm with you on that, Dante. Kill me with the excuses. Get your tail out there and vote. Get your friends to vote. I don't care if you ain't got no eat before you get there, because at the end of the day, you got voting early, you got absentee ballot. So you don't have an excuse anymore. Nope. The problem becomes when and I'm gonna talk about Democrats, because one thing I'm gonna call a dog, even though I'm on that side. The problem with Democrats is we can't sit here and whine and play foul when we didn't do our job to get people out to vote. Bottom line. And I know that's not a popular. It's like Nikema Williams. I get so pissed off when we say, well, why aren't we doing well in Georgia? Because we got a piss poor Democrat, the head of the party. In Georgia, it's piss poor. You don't like it, you don't like it. But we got to stop whining and fix the issues the best way we can. Let's go to commercial break, y'all, and we'll come back.
All right.
Hello, producer, commercial break.
What commercial, Mitchell?
Hi, I'm Katie Brewington, and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge. Magistrate court is often called the people's court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington, May 21st, for Magistrate.
All right, we are back. And if you have not voted early, I don't know where Mr. Thompson is. We're back. If you have not voted early, make sure you vote on election day. It is so important, you all, to exercise that right. And I'll give you a great example. A lot of us get so upset about a particular thing that doesn't go our way, or why do I have to do this? Well, the why comes down to the fact that when you don't exercise your voice and when you don't participate in the system to get people in place that's going to advocate for your values, you get what you get. So we got to get out there and vote.
Yeah, and it's better to vote and complain than to not vote at all and wonder why everything's happening the way it's occurring. We have had some very poor voter turnout in Savannah for quite a few years now. And I understand the pandemic scare changed everything. But I think enough of us have come away from that fog and realized how we overstepped, how we panicked, and we allowed our fear to take over. Well, it's all subsided now. You need to get out. You need to make your voice known. You need to make it heard. Because if you don't, we're going to keep on giving people in office that are only concerned with their own self-interest. And the sad part about it is they don't understand that with that mentality, they're hurting themselves. And if you destroy the economy, all that money that you're making from the backroom deals is going to be worthless. And you're going to be just as poor as your constituents. So your short-term gain will only create a long-term failure.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I want to say, like, if you are not voting in your local elections and you skip some presidential elections, newsflash, you're going to be removed from the voting polls. Mm-hmm. And this should be common sense, and I shouldn't have to say without saying, but if you move from one residence to the next, you're supposed to change your address on your ID. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, some of this is basic common sense. And then you can't go to your precinct and then try to argue with the people when you knowingly have moved from your old residence. So when you move, whether it might be an apartment, house, condo, XYZ, you're supposed to go to your ID place, change your identification and your address, and you should be good to go. I mean, at this point, there should really be no excuse. I mean, I wonder how many people are actually going to get out and go vote on Tuesday.
Well, I think a lot of the times that people don't move by their own choice. They're forced to move to lower ends, but I mean, they lose their residence or house, whatever. But keep in mind, whether you have to move down or you have to stay with a friend, you need to keep advocating for what helps you. But if you hit rock bottom, if you keep moving, some of the policies that are passed can help elevate you back up to where you were or maybe beyond. So I know it might be a dark time in your life, but remember, stay on point, keep making your voice heard, keep voting. Some of the programs that any one of us or someone in our party can introduce might help you get back on your feet. That's right. What I mean, it's important.
That's so true. Really, let's and this one is important. I know Clinton is on top of this more than anybody. So as we saw last week in one of the headlines, yet again an expansion of this whole idea of surveillance.
Oh. It's like Orwellian. I mean, it's like the book 1984. everything we do, we already are giving up our privacy voluntarily with our electronic devices. And for us to have our privacy taken away on top of that by the governmental bodies, it's too far. I mean, at what point the government only needs so much information. This is gone beyond security or criminal, reduction. This isn't about reducing crime. This is about knowing every tidbit of information on every citizen so they can tax you more and take more money from you until we all become financial slaves with no life of our own.
Well, not only just financial slaves, what concerns me
Yeah,
is,
Clinton, I definitely agree.
well,
Yeah.
let me
Oh,
offer
go ahead,
this.
Bobby.
Let me step back all the way to the 80s when Ronald Ridiculous Reagan was president, and they created this ignorant war on drugs that was a war on the black community that started in Compton. So I won't even go into that history lesson. What bothers me is that black and brown communities are going to be disenfranchised yet again and put further behind the eight ball. And let me watch me on this here. So it intrigues me that finally Biden finally got the sense that marijuana is really not a bad thing. It's a plant. It's not a drug. But you had policy that Reagan created that said that plant, that thing you grow out of the ground like a bell pepper, that's a bad thing. My problem is this: where are these cameras and these surveillance pieces going? Right? I don't see them in the well affluent area. I don't see them in the Buckheads. I don't see them on Martha's Vineyard.
And they're
So
not.
what I'm hoping is that certain communities are not disenfranchised or targeted with this technology, because I find it hard to believe that we find things so miraculously good when it's good to certain communities.
You need to understand something. The whole drug war, it's not about right and wrong. It's about money. And the
Yeah.
reason that Ronald Reagan placed a war on drugs is because our governmental bodies, and I won't name which, have their own drug route going, and they're making money off the drug dealers and the drug users. That's right. They're preying on the American people, and they want
Mhm.
to keep it illegal. But as long as it's illegal, these governmental bodies, I won't mention which, can make more money for their industrial war machine. If we make all drugs legal, then that means every crime falls upon the personal responsibility of the citizen. And you can't make any money that way. But if you keep drugs illegal, citation after citation after
Yeah, that's
citation,
real.
then when you get out of jail for it, late fees, probation fees, citation after citation, it's a moneymaker for all the government agencies and law enforcement and all the underground markets. They want it to keep it illegal, and they make more money off of all drugs if they're illegal. And the only drugs that they legalize are the ones that they don't make as much money at. So it's
Opioids.
about money.
Right. So I don't, I'm always against Big Brother. So I do think this is unconstitutional and very overreaching of what the government is trying to do. I find it very surprising that even some black mayors and black city council are on board with this, knowing that it's going to be put in certain communities. But we'll see what the outcome is going to be, because looks like it is moving forward. But hopefully people will get involved and realize how really this is invading your privacy on so many levels. And
Yeah.
I hope people just pay attention to what's going on. Regardless of your opinion of COVID was really a big experiment on really infringing on people's rights and freedoms. And it has worked, and we are slowly going down that road where you're now surveillance. I mean, I was watching, I forgot what news program, but not even some police officers have AI in their police cars.
That's crazy. That's what it was. That's crazy to me. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure why people, I mean, just to pick up on the last conversation, I'm not sure why people do not want to get involved in taking this Cardi B method of not wanting to go vote. But, if you don't participate, then Big Brother is definitely going to take away all your rights and watch and approve every little thing that you do. And Mr. White, yes, I do actually have some issues with Donald Trump. But he is my nominee. He was not my first choice in the Republican primary, but he's the nominee. So that's who I am going with. If you want, honestly, I wish Trump stay off of social media and focus more on issues. When it comes to Biden and Trump, I think Trump can beat Biden. I think a lot of people know that. Even Biden people know that. That's why they're worried.
Well, to your point, let me say this, you all, and this will be our final topic today. Let me what kills me is how people say Donald Trump is smart. He's smart. He is smart. This man has a gag order. But you know what he did? He called his homeboys over and said, y'all go talk about it. Talk about brilliance. I was like, that is smart as all get out. You can gag order me, but you can't gag order the chairman of the House. You can't gag order my homeboy. So now what? That was the brilliant.
I'm gonna bring them every single day just to go off on you. Can we speak about that gag order? How come Donald Trump got to shut up, but all the other witnesses are told, please don't say nothing? I mean, seriously?
Let me bring Matt.
If you like Donald Trump or not, but seriously, come on. And I've said this before, this is what happened to Black people. The only difference between Donald Trump, he actually has money. But a lot of this stuff, we need to see this is what the justice system do to Black and poor people on a regular basis. I wish that Donald Trump would just take the high road and, make this a campaign issue, because it definitely would score him some points. But, another issue that I have with Donald Trump, he talks too much about self and instead of what he can do for the country.
Well, let me bring this back to surveillance. You mentioned something earlier about why there's so many mayors and city council vote on these smart cities. That's because they're giving a payday in it.
Oh,
a lot of technology companies are throwing money to those that advocate and vote to make their city a smart city. So they're being bought out. And most of the city council members or mayors, they don't even really understand IT or what they're voting for. They think they do, but they don't. And if they did, they would be frightened. As for the rest of the American public, we have become desensitized and watch every day. I mean, look at us. This is an innovation in itself, us talking to one another over a webcam. Okay, we become desensitized to it to where we're talking as if we were in each other's living room.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's how used to it we are. And think of the younger generations who don't remember the days before the internet. To them, having a camera up their butt is just everyday life. Giving them a field to walk in where they're not being watched, it probably would be petrified. So we need
the way I see that, some people love for the government to tell them what to do. That they need somebody to guide them, because they never had the testicular fortitude to stand up on their own 2 feet and do what they're supposed to do. I'm sorry, that's where it goes.
I disagree. It's not about bravery. It's about laziness. People don't want to have to make a decision on their own, but if they do, it may be incorrect, and then they have to face the consequences. So they rather have someone else make the decisions. That way they can always have someone to point their finger at and blame. That's why they do it.
Interesting.
Well, I feel sorry for this next generation, because they need somebody to really guide them, and they're stuck on social media and they don't know what's going on. And Mr. White, no, I don't drink Kool-Aid. I actually am a sugar-free person. So I think you missed what I said about Trump, but that's, I guess you're in that Trump deranged syndrome.
Unfortunately, Mr. White, I get kidney stones, and now I can only drink Kool-Aid.
And you're not even supposed to be drinking that right now.
No.
Right.
Right, so we're gonna fuss at you.
I know.
But But yeah, so y'all, we'll be back next Sunday. We're gonna close it out. Producer, y'all have a great week, and we'll be back next Sunday, same time, same place.
And say a prayer for my root canal, please.
Hey,
We
you'll be
definitely
great.
will.
You'll love it. It's better than Kool-Aid. All right, Miss Producer, we're ready.
Thank you.
Like this.